Hi, it's Kendra here from miniaturehorsemanship.com. Today we're going to talk a bit about grooming. Miniature horses have a lot of hair, and it's one of their charms. I really like it. One of my favorite things about them. I'm here with Valdez. He is 29 years old. He is the Great Valdez. Yes, he's 29 years old, and he is a stallion. He's the patriarch of our little herd here, and he has an abundance of mane. And you can see that it is looking a little Mustangy right now with all these wind knots in it. I noticed he had one, and I thought I'm going to leave that in order to make a video. And then bad things happened, and it's been 2 months, and now he looks full Mustang. So these knots that they get, they almost look like they've been braided together. They have lots of colorful names. People call them wind knots, or fairy knots, or witches knots, and there's lots of fantastical tales to go along with them. They'll say that the witches came in the night and tied knots in their mane to ride them. Or the fairies, which, while I kind of like the idea of fairies in my barn, seeing that Valdez doesn't actually go outside when it's windy, because he is a pampered old horse, I'm pretty sure his are self-inflicted from being an itchy old horse. So he, no fancy names, just itchy knots, I guess. So I'm just going to run through a little bit. I see people online say, oh my gosh, look at this knot in my horse's mane, I'm going to have to cut it. And you don't have to cut it. We can get this out. It's important to remember that a lot of the hair that's in this knot isn't actually attached to him. So don't freak out if you do lose some hair in the process. It probably wasn't attached anyway. So your secret weapons, here's what I use. Number 1, Cowboy Magic Detangler. What do you think, Val? Does it smell pretty? Cowboy Magic is the most important tool. It's my favorite detangler because it not only really helps in the actual detangling, but it really helps keep it from knotting up as quickly again. And when you have a lot of big, heavy, thick manes to deal with, you really appreciate that. The other thing that I use is I don't use a mane comb, I use a brush like this. So this is a wall brush, but you could use a human brush. But a brush is going to be a much better tool for you, and your fingers are going to be really important too. So we're going to start with a generous amount. We're going to pick a knot and start putting a generous amount of Cowboy Magic in it. And rub it in a bit. And then we're going to start with the very edge of the knot and pull a few strands out at a time. Very few, so we don't want to pull his hair either and make him cranky with us, right, Val? Yeah. So we're going to do a little at a time, and you can use the brush, you can use your fingers, and sometimes you'll want to use the brush, and other times you'll want to use your fingers. But you just want to do a little at a time until you've worked it out. So a few strands. And you're going to break some, but remember, this is a miniature horse, and he has a lot of mane. We're not dealing with an Appaloosa here. He has some to spare, and like I say, you can work these hairs out of the knot pretty good. Like I'm not breaking very many here, and chances are I am going to end up with a wad of hair in my hand, and that's what makes these knots, is it's the hair that he's rubbed out, tangled in the hair that's still attached to his head. So that's what makes the big knots. Now, Valdez is not that stoic about such things like this. So you can take, there, we've got half of it out, see? We'll keep at it. He's not that stoic about things like this. Back in his show days, a long, long time ago, at one point, Mom thought she'd pull his mane like a quarter horse. That did not go over well. He said no. So Valdez says no, he likes to be a wild Mustang. So if this was hurting him, he would be telling us about it. And while he's being very good boy here, I'll have you know that he is still a wild stallion at 29 years old. Yeah, a little bit at a time, a few strands at a time. Now if I tried to break that knot apart without, like in one swoop, you'd think it was going to be in there forever. But with the Cowboy Magic on it, using my fingers a few strands at a time, you can see how it comes out really well. There's the last of it. And we have a knot left in our hand. This was the part that was no longer attached to the horse. You didn't need that, did you, Valley? And so this was the reason why we made that big knot. Now we can use our brush to run through that area. You can do the rest of the mane too. A little more cowboy magic on that. I use lots of this stuff. And I am not sponsored by Cowboy Magic, but if anyone from Cowboy Magic is watching and would like to sponsor, I have a giant herd of horses with manes like this, and they all use Cowboy Magic. But you can probably see even just how much easier I could brush through that after I put some Cowboy Magic on it. Oh my goodness, I'm boring you. Oh, I found a little bitty wind knot. So we'll just take a moment, rather than whipping it out, take our fingers and pull it apart. And there we have it. So I like to add a little more Cowboy Magic to it after I've gotten it out, because you can see how it's all curly here. So we want to make sure that we straighten it out a little bit, or it'll just tangle around itself again. Somebody was just rolling in the dirt and having a lovely time, weren't we? But yeah, so then we can do this next one, and the process will be exactly the same, so you guys probably don't need to see it. I'll come back and show you the final effect of an actual brushed out mane. So, look at this beautiful big long mane, and imagine what it would have looked like if we'd cut it. It would have been terrible. So we didn't lose hardly any mane at all, just the parts that were already falling out. And we have a lovely mane for him to show off for his favorite girlfriends, right, Valley? You want Cookie, don't you? That's what you're telling me.